Carolina. I am Derek Gano. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. And today we welcome another guest, Phil Gunther, to talk about a little NL West. Welcome, Phil.
It's a pleasure to be here, Derek and Joe. I'm real excited.
And Joe, as I mentioned, NL West preview, second to last preview.
Yes, it's great to have a best friend on. Phil and I go back a ways, and first with being good friends with Michael, and now just growing up and all, and having a good talking with sports. And this is gonna be good. The NL West is a very interesting division. We got a top heavy division, but even the middle teams are not too bad. So I think we're gonna have a really entertaining show today. I'm gonna say.
So, as always, let us start in alphabetical order with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last year, the Arizona Diamondbacks finished fifth in the division at 25-35. Coach Tori Lavulo is coming back for his fifth season. He is 285 and 261. A couple additions for Arizona. Joaquim Soria was brought on. The ageless Asdrubal. Well, I guess they're both kind of ageless. Asdrubal Cabrera is also has also been brought on, as well as Tyler Clippard, who actually just had a shoulder issue. He down for about 6 weeks. And some subtractions: Hector Rondon, Mike Leake, and John Jay. Might as well start with our guest, Phil. Not a ton of big names there, but when you dove into the Arizona Diamondbacks, what do we see that might at least give them a shot to stick with the Padres and the Dodgers this year?
Yeah, I think Arizona was an interesting team last year, especially, the big thing too, they're not far from the Paul Goldschmidt trade, which really, I think if we look at where they are now, from a couple years ago, that's something that shook them up. But I really like, Marte out through there. They've got some young options in the rotation that have potential, but I think it's going to be the kind of deal. Well, Madison Bumgarner was the guy they spent a lot of money on, big free agent signing, and he's had some mixed results. So he's really going to need to stabilize the top of the rotation for them. And, they got some battles in the division. It's going to be a long one.
So, Joe, when you look at the lineup, we mentioned Ketel Marte, Eduardo Escobar plays third base, switch hitter, is kind of in the middle. Christian Walker, not so young, first baseman, 30 years old. But besides that, man, there's not much there as far as the lineup goes.
You wouldn't more deep with Arizona. That's one thing I wouldn't say. But I really do like Marte. If you remember our second base show, well, I highlighted him. I think he was in my top three. I like Ketel Marte a lot. He hit 287 last year. He only knocked in 17, but again, if these guys don't get on base, he's leading off. So he has to do a lot himself. I look for him to get triples this year. He's fast, maybe some doubles. Escobar is the one. I liked Escobar when Arizona signed him. He hit 212 last year. I hope for him it's a short season. These guys all have endured a lot the last season. So hopefully he has a bounce back year. I like Eduardo Escobar. David Peralta is the name. He's the guy that's going to keep the lineup together. He had 300 last year. He had 30 RBIs. Rumors the Cubs were looking at him. He would be a good fit in Washington. I always like to do this. I always like to say where these guys can fit elsewhere. But Peralta is one of those guys that is a really good hitter. Other than that, no. Cole Calhoun's not very good. Walker will be okay, and he actually knocked in 34. But Phil made a good point, and one of you guys can take this. You did mention Bumgarner, but the guy had a 7 ERA almost. I know what he did in San Francisco. Would you say, and Derek said this one of the last shows we did, Zach Gallen might be the guy to step up to be the ace. Is that like, am I on the back here? Is it going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I think Gallen's the guy long term. Bumgarner they brought in there to kind of give him a shot in the arm, a veteran presence. I think too when we talked before in the past, this year is going to be really different for a lot of teams because you don't have guys who threw a lot of innings last year. They're not going to have that arm strength built up. And I think Bumgarner had some injuries last year too. He came back a little bit, and some of the starts at the end were better. But I think Zach Gallen is great. Came over from a trade with the Miami Marlins, I believe. And he's really a guy that I think gets overlooked. We don't, maybe some people out here East Coast, we don't watch a lot of NL West all the time, or specifically the Diamondbacks, but he's a guy that, I think he has some potential. He's more number 2-ish kind of guy, I'd say, than a pure ace if we're looking top 15 pitcher across the league. So
Merrill Kelly.
I like
too.
Gallen.
Yeah, Merrill Kelly. I do too. Merrill Kelly's the third guy, and he's at 2.59 ERA, which is an ERA less than Gallen even by some points. So if Arizona pitches well, Derek and Phil, they just need lineup production. So I don't know where they get it from all the way through, but
So I'll say, I mean, I really think they don't have too bad of a starting 3 there. Unfortunately, it just doesn't come close to what the top 2 in the division are going to put out there. Bumgarner is not what he was, 6.48 ERA last year and a 3.9 ERA the year before that. He may just be a 4+ ERA now guy, and that's what they have to deal with. Gallen is the guy of the future. Luke Weaver was obviously brought over. I believe in the Goldschmidt deal he was one of the pitchers brought over. And 2.94 ERA in 2019, but again, he blew up in 2020 and over 6 ERA. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for that rotation, especially to carry that, what looks like that offense. Now, Phil, even when we look at the bullpen here, I mean, honestly, the only names I really even recognize are Joakim Soria, who's probably their potential closer, been around for like 15 years, and Chris Stavensky they brought in from Houston, but he had a 14+ ERA.
Yeah, it's they're definitely a team. They're a little top heavier. We go with their stars, at least with Marte. They have some building pieces there, but you can tell that this isn't really a team that's like going all in for a playoff push. So some of the arms in the bullpen specifically are guys that are going to get opportunities just to pitch, get into the big leagues, prove themselves, and I think one of the other things too, they're not really established, but with the way teams are developing pitching lately, you can have some guys who come out of the bullpen who we haven't heard of, maybe don't have high prospect pedigrees, but they work on a slider and, can command their fastball, just do a couple things right, and they can be pretty effective.
Joe, do you have a couple names down as far as the bullpen, or does it pretty much end there with those 2 names?
Well, just like you, their closer is interesting, but I agree. When I researched Arizona, I did know that the closer is going to be Grichton, who they are really really high on him. But it doesn't sound. Remember, they traded Archie Bradley to Cincinnati. That was a big move. But again, like Phil just said, they're not looking to win right now. If they win, well, it'll kind of be like accident because they don't have the horses, as if you will, right? The other name I will call you to that I do recognize is right-hander Kevin Ginkel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did take a step backward though, but he did have a really strong 19, right?
Oh,
yeah,
11.6.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, so they need a guy like him to step up. Derek, I don't know if you're going to mention this name, but I want to throw him out there because I don't think he's part of your prospect list that you look up, because I know you do it for all baseball. Oh, you might. Okay. Well, I just want to give you this name. Blake Walston, left-hand pitcher, 19 years old. So just saying that Walston is one of these guys that, right, like let's go. Like the time is now. Like get up here, like as soon as you can. Like, I don't know, Arizona, like, they're going to be okay.
I'll jump into a couple names here. Again, I kind of moved away from their best prospects. These are guys who are going to make a difference this year, if anything. 2 guys I wrote down. Geraldo Perdomo is a shortstop, number 79 overall, according to MLB.com's top 100. He's the best defensive player in the system, plus speed, solid switch hitter. So you wonder where, because they already have Nick Ahmed, who is one of the best defensive players in baseball. He has a couple Gold Gloves already. So you wonder how that would work. One of them would probably have to move to second. Maybe Marte moves. Another guy is Corbin Martin, who is a right-handed pitcher. He's number 7 on the team as far as prospects. Mid-90s fastball that has some run. Misses bats with his breaking balls. Good changeup against left-handers. Well, the number to beat for did you have something you want to say real quick, Phil?
There's actually something. I don't know if Joe will remember the last name Varsho. Did you look Dalton Varsho, player from the D-backs?
Yes.
There's an interesting connection.
I did. Yeah, and I said that to myself. Yeah, Dalton Varsho, a catcher / outfielder. His dad played for the Philadelphia Phillies back in the 90s. Gary Varsho.
Yeah.
Also a Pirate, I think, at one time. But yeah, he had 188 last year, so that needs to come up. But he's a
guy named Dalton after Dutch. I mean, I really think he's a fun player too. He's got a nice swing from the left side. He has catching in his background, but you can play center field at the major league level. Like, that's unbelievable athleticism to be able to play those positions. He's a guy I like. I just wanted to bring him up.
No problem.
That reminds you of Craig Biggio, catcher, center field. That's good point, Phil.
I will say, so according to the Las Vegas odds, the over-under as far as win totals is 74.5 for Arizona. Joe, let's start with you. What do you think? Over-under 74.5.
All right, I'm going to say 77 because I don't like them over 80, but I do like them a little bit better because I think the lineup's going to produce. I think Peralta has a big year. Marte is a big year. And I think they get pitching, or they get good pitching, and they get a pitcher. So I'm going to say adding. They're going to add some guys. So 77.
Phil, 74.5.
I think they just might end up at 74. Just slightly under. I think you get some interesting players through there, but I think with the amount of competition and the vision and what they're looking down the road, they might be moving some pieces at the deadline, that kind of thing, retool for next year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go under as well. I'll be less nice. I think I'm going to maybe 68, 69, 70 is where I'm going to go because, again, those two top-heavy teams – and they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna be pulling players in. I think they're gonna be selling off, like Phil said. So, well, that will bring us to our second team here, the Colorado Rockies. Last year, Colorado finished 4th in the division at 26-34. Coach Bud Black comes back for his 5th season. He is 275 and 272 in Colorado. A couple additions, pretty non-existent for Colorado, but Chris Owings, utility infielder, Greg Bird, former Yankees farmhand, and CJ Cron is also brought in. Subtractions? Well, I guess you got to start with Nolan Arenado, right? He is now gone. Kevin Pillar, Matt Kemp, David Dahl, as well as Ian. I don't know how involved Ian Desmond would have been in the league this year, but he has opted out. Joe, let's start with you. Is there, with Arenado now gone, is there literally anything for the Colorado Rockies to look forward to this season?
So, Derek, I have to say that one guy jumps right off the page at me, but I'm going to let that to Phil because it's one of his boys. We always talk about him. But I will say Charlie Blackmon's going to have a big year. Charlie Blackmon, 303 average last year, 42 RBIs. The guy's a heck of a hitter. I think guys like Ryan McCann, Raymel, Tapia, who's going to hit leadoff, those guys have to have big years. And guys like Brendan Rodgers, these guys have to hit. Well, Phil, I'm going to kick it to you. Oh, Derek, who you like and who you, well, we wanted to be a Philly at one point, but what do you think about
Yeah,
the
the
shortstop?
real talent guy on the team, obviously, and there's a lot of talk now that Arenado's gone, Trevor Story. Unbelievable, great shortstop, quick hands, makes the plays in the field. He's got really good pop for a shortstop, and he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So a lot of attention on that. As we said before, if with the D-backs that they might not be challenging with the Rockies, well, there's going to be a lot of talk about what Trevor Story, how long he's with the Rockies this year, what kind of thing, how that story unfolds. But he's a real exciting player to watch, pretty much. And Charlie Blackmon was a good call too. I was just thinking of this the other day, trying to think of like a comp of who Charlie Blackmon reminds me of. As we're Phillies fans and just even like a lot of Yankees fans too around, for some reason I thought Bobby Abreu with no arm.
Yeah,
that's the important thing.
That's a great comparison. Bobby Abreu. Phil loves this comp, Derek, but that's a good one.
That's a thing, yeah.
So I will say, guys, we're whoever wants to take it, but obviously we started with Troy Tulowitzki, and then Arenado became the guy, and now he was traded away, and now Story's the guy. Eventually, he's going to leave. What can Colorado really do here to get people interested in their fans interested in the team? Because they just sell players off. It's tough to get pitchers to want to come there because of obviously playing. Those that don't know, playing in Colorado at the high altitude is one of the most difficult in baseball. So what can they really do, Phil? Let's kick it to you. That really could make this team interesting again.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I mean, you brought it up right through there. They just haven't really developed the pitchers in a large enough, more impactful way. They have some arms that are there that have showed potential and stuff, but in order to really compete in that division, you have to have a bunch of guys ready at the right time to come and make an impact on your MLB team. And they just don't really have, there's just a lot of question marks. I like Brendan Rodgers is another guy, a middle infielder for their team. I'm not sure if McMahon's going to be playing third base now. But I mean, they've got some interesting guys with potential sprinkled in here and there. But I mean, and I can't imagine too what they say hitters have a tough time even adjusting sometimes when they leave course. The balls always fly there, but it also like suppresses breaking balls. Breaking balls move different in course than they do outside. So a lot of times some of these hitters, that's why they're worried about DJ LeMahieu when he was leaving.
There's another name.
What he would do, another name who
gone left.
But it's a unique situation from there. I know Colorado, it's a great state. They got great fans there. I remember back in the day when they swept the Phillies, they can certainly put a good team together. Matt Holliday, Ubaldo Jimenez, all those guys on that team were really fun. But I think they've got a couple of years where, you move Story, you get a couple of impact guys for him. It's not going to be a whole lot because he doesn't have much on his contract left, but just kind of build through the system and get some guys to come up at the right time. I do like Brendan Rodgers though.
Well, like also even the pitching, like, well, I mean, I know Herman Marquez is definitely a guy that
you love. Herman Marquez.
I know, I'm a fan of him. But I'm a fan of him because he seems to get outs in like situations where a lot of other teams, AKA the Phillies and bad teams, don't get outs in. So I don't know. I mean, I like Freeland's another name to watch out for. This kid's young and he's a good, I like Kyle Freeland too. And John Gray, well, depending on his arm, we'll see. Listen, the Rockies have to be so frustrating for fans. But if I'm Charlie Blackmon, I don't want to be playing there because I'm not winning anytime soon. So you wonder, he could be the next one to go.
Good point.
Is this another team that's going to sell pieces off?
They're like the Marlins guys.
I mean, some of those starting pitchers have been there for quite a few years now. Marquez, Senzatela, John Gray, Freeland, they've been in the rotation for so long. And they just can't get an ERA under like 4. So
Yes.
interesting. I'm not positive how to say his last name. Austin Gomber, who came from St. Louis. So he should be an interesting piece. Obviously in the Arenado trade. A couple bullpen guys to look out for. Daniel Bard has made a resurgence after being playing in Boston for so many years. Potential closer there. Michael Givens is a guy potentially be an 8th inning guy from Baltimore days, and Scott Oberg has been in Colorado for probably about 5 years now. Not a ton else, but Phil, I mean, those are some suitable names in the bullpen, at least, that people can hang their hat on in Colorado.
Yeah, they're guys you can go to in the last couple innings and know that, you can keep your team in the game, protect leads, that kind of thing. Robert Stevenson, another guy who was actually a pretty decent prospect coming up, I think, with the Reds. He's now kind of moved towards the bullpen with the Rockies. There's just a lot. I know we're talking pitching now too. The other thing with Marquez that's interesting, I saw they have them locked up to like an extension. I think it runs through 2024. It's reasonably priced. I know we were talking about like things, who knows, they may have trade pieces, but that could be having a guy like that who's talented. If he gets out of there, like a lot of teams could use a young guy on a good contract. So that might be a potential.
Right. Definitely.
He's signed through 2023 club option for 2024. That's correct. Couple names to look out for
26.
Colorado. Elihuris Montero is the a third base prospect they don't have a ton that is immediately available. A lot of their top prospects are far down. So he's number 9 on the team. Good bat speed, makes hard contact, a lot of raw power, strong arm, pretty much what you expect out of a third baseman in Colorado, it seems. And Colton Welker is another name to look out for. First base, third base prospect, number 11 on the team. Draws walks, good hands, solid arm, solid power. One little bet I'm going to make is I'll say CJ Cron hits 35 home runs in Colorado. So that I don't know about the rest of the league or the lineup, but
yeah, they'll be interesting for some fantasy players, because anytime you play in Denver and Coors Field, the ball's flying.
Well, and I was a little shocked when I saw this number, but over under for Colorado is 63.5. Phil, let's start with you. What do you think? 63.5. I'm interested why they think that they're so much lower than like where the Diamondbacks were at 74.5.
Yeah. Wow. That's tough to go into the year looking at that number. I mean, I think things can happen throughout the year. Maybe they rally as guys. Hey, Nolan's not here. It's time, some guys have to step up. They kind of do the us against the world kind of thing. And I mean, but I think they can get to a 67's not out of control, but they probably will be in last place in the division. I think it's probably safe to say.
Spoiler.
What do you think, Joe?
I'm going under. I know Arizona. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go 59. I don't know that number. That number just came to me when I was thinking about this. I don't like their pitching, guys. I don't. And I think it could be worse than what it's been in a long, like Phil was saying earlier, a long season. Like 162. Arms are going to be tired. Can Marquez hold up? Can Freeland hold up? Freeland and Gray have already been. I do like their lineup. I'm going to sleep on their lineup, but they don't have a lot to get excited about. So even if Story misses some time, or God forbid they trade him, I don't know. We'll see. But I can't wait to talk about these next teams though.
Well, I will say I think they're higher Colorado. I think that's a little unfair, that number that they throw out there, because I don't see them being any worse than Arizona. I like their lineup more than Arizona. I probably like their rotation maybe just as much as Arizona. So I think it's a little bit higher, not, 70s numbers, I don't think, but I think they can get into the high 60s. But Joe's thinking 100 losses then for Colorado, if you say lower. So
we're gonna stay with that.
So that'll do it for Colorado. So we will now move on to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who, for those that don't know, spoiler, won their 7th World Series last year. They defeated the Tampa Bay Rays 4-2. Last year, they finished first in the division at 43-17. Coach Dave Roberts comes back for his 6th season at 436 and 273. A couple additions. Tommy Canley, although he supposedly has Tommy John surgery, so he's not going to be playing this season. Trevor Bauer, that's not too bad, coming into being the starting rotation. And let's not forget David Price is going to come back this year, and he will be at the back end of their rotation after opting out last year. Some subtractions: Dylan Floro, bullpen option; Alex Wood, Pedro Baez, Jake McGee, Kiki Hernandez, and Jock Peterson. Those aren't small names. Phil, let's start with you. I'm trying to be a little bit of a negative person for them, but is there any reason for the Dodgers to have any worry going into this season, or is it pretty much smooth sailing until the playoffs?
Well, it's tough for me to find any sympathy or worry for someone who might like the Dodgers as a Phillies fan now. Really just sets them out. They've lost some guys, as you mentioned, but they just always have guys ready to step in positions. They develop guys and develop players as good as anybody in the league, which is crazy because they haven't even, it's not like there's somebody who went through a rebuild. They have this talent. They just, they get Walker Buehler like at the back end of the first round, like the guys that they're just putting together, and they just know where to find the small pieces and get the most out of their players. I honestly, I know you said you wanted to go negative through there. I think maybe I would say like Kenley Jansen and some of the guys in like the back end of the bullpen, that would be like the main thing where I go, I don't know if that bullpen's not playoff ready, but I do think that they'll, move some organizational depth, add some guys at the trade deadline, to kind of improve that. So that's one spot I would say that they probably, that the weakness of the team, if there is one.
Well, the Dodgers are the defending champs, like Derek said, and it is really hard to pick on weaknesses. So I'm going to tell you a couple strengths. Number one, their leadoff hitter is a beast. Mookie Betts is unbelievable. He knocked in 39 RBIs. Boston, I would have signed him for a long contract. Just saying. Corey Seager is one of the best shortstops in baseball. Guys, like seriously, 1 through 8, this team is really strong. Derek made a really good point, though. Jock Peterson and Kiki Hernandez are 2 key losses. Jock Peterson was a guy that could hit you a home run. Even if he wasn't playing that day, you could say, hey, Jock, we need you to come to pinch hit. Like that would be important. Kiki Hernandez could play second, third, short, basically everywhere in the infield. So and the outfield, I might add. So, but this is what drives me crazy about the Dodgers. They have 3 catchers that are capable of hitting and playing defense. Number 1, that would be Will Smith. He's a stud. He's from their system. Number 2 would be Austin Barnes. He's pretty good. Oh, and then let me tell you number 3. That's number 1 prospect, Keibert Ruiz. Oh my God. It's I had to save it for now because if I did this for the first team, I'd be out of breath. But the Dodgers are a juggernaut. They are really, really good. And Derek, I don't think they have a weakness except for the bullpen.
Well, and even the guy who, like Kiki Ruiz or Hernandez, who go around, well, they still have Chris Taylor there, who can play pretty much every position on the field. So there's that. And so I would have to assume Gavin Lux takes the second base position. I know Joe loves
He's a great player.
Gavin
Really
Lux.
like
He
him.
was on our top current second baseman's list that Joe liked. If you want to go check out that video. I mean, and we didn't even mention Cody Bellinger, who somehow moved from a first baseman to a center fielder, and without
He's not bad.
much of any big issues. 40 RBI guy can get his 15 stolen bases. It's you said it, Joe. There's not many holes in that lineup. Max Muncy, Justin Turner was brought back. AJ Pollock. Now that we mentioned everyone in the starting lineup.
AJ Pollock, Notre Dame guy.
He was
There you go.
Phil, when we look at the rotation, I mean, Clayton Kershaw finally broke out as a postseason pitcher last year. Now adding in Trevor Bauer to that rotation, one probably the best 1, 2, 3, arguably in Major League Baseball, with Buehler as well. Maybe we could say David Price. We don't know what we're gonna get out of David Price, but even if David Price goes down, you still have Dustin May, you still have Tony Gonsolin there. They even have Jimmy Nelson, by the way, from Milwaukee. No holes there either.
That one could be something. Yeah, it's just, I mean, Dustin May, I don't know, if some people haven't seen this kid throw before, like YouTube him. Everything he throws is hard. His breaking balls just dive. And like, he's a guy they're going to be using him in the bullpen. He would be most teams like number 3 for sure. Like coming into the season, Gonsolin took down big innings for them in the in the playoffs through there. The guy that depth, I think, and we barely even said it, but I mean, they added Trevor Bauer to that team. Like, I don't know if he's going to be a Cy Young guy. He's very good. Like, they're just a juggernaut through there.
You're right.
And, they're especially Urias is a great guy too. Like, they added with Bauer and they have the depth. And I think they're, especially like we said, teams needing for this long season. They're just built perfectly, like the amount of arms that they have. If someone goes down, if David Price, something's bothering him, he needs to skip a turn in the rotation. It's not going to be a problem. And David Price is their number 5 right now.
Right.
Like, he's an older guy. He's not what he is through the name, but he's got some experience.
Joe, any whether it being starting rotation, bullpen, any names you want to talk about for the Dodgers here?
The only thing I'm going to say about Trevor Bauer is that, yes, he was really good in Cleveland. But now what's scary about him is he might have had a decently off year last year, but that's only because he didn't pitch a whole season. Now we're going to see him at full strength, a new season, a new team, and he's really the 3 right now. And if you want to put Kershaw at 2, that I guess it's arguable. My thing is, if Trevor Bauer pitches the way he did in the playoffs, forget about it. Like, this is going to be unreal. We might be seeing records broken. Like, Buehler to Bauer is just not fair. I mean, come on. So I want to highlight him and Julio Urias. And this is a name I've heard about a lot now as he's been young, because he's young. My cousin in Florida is a huge Dodgers fan. Shout out to my cousin Michael. He always tells me who they got coming. Urias is a kid, he said right away, watch out. If he's not in the rotation, he'll be in the bullpen. Well, you guys highlight another thing. The bullpen might not be so strong. Throw him at the end with May. Why not? Because it's just going to be a fit for hitters. He did it in the playoffs. So just watch out for number 7.
Yeah, I really like Urias this year too, because it seems like it's been the last few years that they've brought him up for a start here or there, but now he's going to be kind of entrenched in that rotation. So I think he's going to be putting up some good numbers. A
Great
couple
work,
other
Eric.
bullpen guys, by the way. Yeah, Kenley Jansen has been iffy, but then they have Blake Trinan there as well, who only in what was it, 2019? I think it was the year before that. He put up big numbers, but Corey Noble from Milwaukee is there as well. He was their save guy. So Scott Alexander, good lefty. Not much.
Even Joe
And
Kelly.
yeah,
Joe Kelly.
Joe
Yeah,
Kelly,
Joe
is injured for
Kelly.
now, but yeah, when he
Nasty
comes
Joe
back
Kelly.
too. Well, and then I have to add fuel to the fire here. Let's name a couple of guys who could potentially help them out even more this season. Joe mentioned one. Keibert Ruiz is a catcher, number 57 overall in the top 100 on MLB.com. They use the specific word premier contact hitter. So
Dangerous.
I'd say that's pretty good. Switch hitter, a very disciplined, solid defender, plus arm strength. And then Josiah Gray is a right-handed pitcher, number 58 overall, mid-90s fastball that rises. I don't know if besides softball, I don't know
like
of
softball.
a fastball that rises, but that's what they
good.
say. Good breaking balls, very athletic.
It's an optical. And yeah.
The number to beat for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Joe, is 103.5. What do you think? Over under 103.5.
Well, I'm going over. I'm going 105.
Over. Wow.
Finally in the West. But I'm doing it with the team I think can do it. Seriously, there's not many words that you can just describe them. They're awesome. They really are, and they're such a nightmare to play.
What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I was surprised at that number. It's hard for me to remember a team that like is better, or they won the World Series and they added a Cy Young candidate. Like Bellinger's could have a bounce back year. So many different things. Like I'm like trying to think in the last 15 years what teams can even have that kind of resume. So yeah, I think they probably go over maybe 104, like not by much. They got the Padres will be interesting, but
I'm going over as well, but I'm saying higher because I think they're gonna beat up on those three bottom dwellers.
Oh, that's true.
As well as they're gonna probably have a lot of games against the AL West, which is not as good this year, especially with the Astros being down. I think they may flirt with the Mariners 116 there.
Boy.
I won't go that high, but I think 108, 109, 110, they can get up there. That's for sure.
I thought I was high.
But the only team that probably we can say is going to give them issues this year would be our next team, the San Diego Padres. San Diego finished last year in second place in the division at 37-23. They lost 3-0 to the LA Dodgers in the NL Division Series. Coach Jace Tingler is back for a second season, obviously 37-23. Some additions, again, one of the largest addition groups in terms of depth, at least. Blake Snell, left-hander from Tampa Bay, coming over. Yu Darvish, as well as his personal catcher, Victor Caratini. Joe Musgrove, as well as Ha Seung Kim from Korea is coming over. Some players they lost: Zach Davies, Joey Lucchesi, Garrett Richards, Trevor Rosenthal, Kirby Yates, Jason Castro. Joe, what is need? I mean, it's going to be tough to get to the Dodgers level, but what is needed on the Padres roster to maybe get them close, unless you think that they're pretty much there already?
Oh boy. San Diego is really good. I think we all know that. The thing is, they're going to need to have really good years from all of their players because here's the thing. I don't think they're pound for pound as good as the Dodgers, but you figure they're going to steal some games from them because they have good players. What I think is going to happen to San Diego is games against the other divisions, the NL East. We all know the NL East. They're going to be the NL East is going to be tough, so the Padres might struggle there. They might struggle with the Brewers and the Cubs. God knows what the Cubs are doing, but they have players, so maybe the Cubs and the Brewers. The Cardinals will be a thorn on their side, I'm sure, at least twice. I just do love this team, though. Fernando Tatis called superstar, and what a swagger he has. Manny Machado, the numbers speak to you. 304, 16 homers, 47 RBIs. Hosmer's a winner. He's already won a World Series in Kansas City. Tommy Pham has to hit, though. He hit 211 last year. Not good enough. Will Myers needs to show me he's not just a role player. He could be a part of this nucleus. I don't like Will Myers. Not a fan. And Jake Cronenworth steps on the scene last year. And what does he do? He wins almost rookie of the year.
Almost, yeah.
With our buddy Alec Baum, friend of the show. So shout out to Michael. So, guys like Austin Noah, Derek, who you know so well from his days in Seattle, he has to hit. I really do like the Padres lineup. I'm going to kick it to one of you guys to talk about the rotation because they've done some nice things. I will not say the Padres are the Dodgers. I cannot say it.
Their rotation, man. Talk about a team, too. Like we said, that's where I get excited to talk about. I mean, you add Blake Snell, who's been one of the best. If you look at his track record over like the last 3 years, there's some years, the numbers weren't really popped out in one certain year, but he can pitch big games. I like him. I think Darvish he kind of changed how he attacks guys. He uses his slider a lot more now. Caratini is a guy who unlocked pretty much all that. I love catchers as a former pitcher myself. That relationship with catchers and having a guy who knows you in and out and where you want to attack guys, that can't be understated. So I think and the other thing about the rotation, Chris Paddock, I remember pitch against the Phillies a couple of times. He's a guy, he started opening day for them last year, I'm pretty sure. He's their number 5 now all of a sudden, pretty much. The amount of the talent that they've added in, he's a great pitcher. And Clevenger's hurt, but down the road, if he could ever recover anything through there, that would be great. I think Dinelson Lamet is one of the most underrated pitchers, I think, in the National League, to be honest. I think something came up with him the other day, but I don't know if it's long-term injury-wise or something. Not that scary, but Morajan is another lefty that they have, I think, who was a heralded prospect. I mean, they've got a lot of dudes who can throw the ball. That's one of the strengths, I think, when you talk about even, against the NL East, has got a lot of pitching. The Central and some of those teams, I think they, on most days when they roll out one of their starters, besides when they're playing the Dodgers, there's a good chance they're probably going to have an advantage in that matchup. So I think they'll be a pretty, strong team for that. On the starting pitching is probably their strength.
So I think, Lamet they're saying is probably going to start the season on the IL. He might not quite be ready, but he's not going to be too long.
Musgrove too.
I don't think when Lamet is healthy, I think 1 through 3, they may be one of the very few teams who can match up directly with the Dodgers. Problem is, I don't see the lineup being as good as what the Dodgers are going to throw out there every day. And maybe it's next year because Clevenger had Tommy John surgery, so he won't pitch this year. But I am very interested next year to see a potential Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Clevenger, Dinelson Lamet, Chris Paddock, Joe Musgrove, Morahan. They have 9-10 guys that they could throw out there. Their backup rotation may be better than some of the rotations in the National League.
That's true.
Until we get to that point, though, I don't think they're quite there. The I don't know, what are you going to get out of Trent Grisham? He's maybe the leadoff hitter, potential 2020 guy. I know. Joe said Tommy Pham, always a lot injured often. Hae-Sung Kim, that guy who came over from Korea, where is he going to jump in? Jerks and Profar may potentially get a job there. Joe, when you look at the bullpen guys, that may actually be one of their strengths as well. Drew Pomerantz was amazing last season. Potential closer option for them. Emilio Pagan, they also brought in, I may not have even said, I might have missed that one. Mark Melanson is on the team now as well. Keone Kela is another former closer. They got a ton of guys in that bullpen.
Yeah, well, there's a couple that jump out at you. Craig Stammen had a tough year last year, the 5.63 ERA, but Craig Stammen gets a lot of guys out. He's a tough righty. Kind of funky delivery, but a veteran guy that's always been very good. Drew Pomerantz is the name that jumps out at me, not just because he's the closer, because they can close with Melanson. A lot of people forget he closed in San Francisco, he closed in Atlanta. Melanson can close, but Pomerantz gives you that guy that's going to get a Freddie Freeman out, that's going to get a Lind, like those types of lefties out, because Pomerantz is that type of pitcher. I also like Pagan, an ERA a little high last year. There's nobody else that's like crazily jumping out at me, but they have guys like Castillo, Hill, and even, like we said, Pagan. I do like their bullpen a little bit. Again, they could add, and they could even make a trade because they have 175 pitchers. So, but no, San Diego's deep, and that's what San Diego usually isn't. So that's the scary thing if I'm a Dodger fan, is that, and I can't wait to get my over-under because I'm really confident in this. But remember this, spoiler, remember this. The wild card isn't like last year. So that being said, a West or Central team could steal it across the East. And that's what worries me. Just throwing it out there.
I know.
Phil agrees.
It's tough. I know. The other thing too, they definitely, there's some questions in the lineup. Hosmer, I think for the money that they paid him, it probably would get a little more out of him.
Home runs,
but like home run wise, power, pretty much. But Cronenworth, they might have the new guy that they signed from Korea, play second base a little. You got also Nola behind the plate, but Caratini. Like, I think the nice thing, at least with their lineup, is you don't, looking at the 9 guys right through there doesn't tell the whole story. They're going to play some matchups. Yeah. Cronenworth is awesome against righties, held his own against lefties. Profar is the kind of guy, right-handed bat off the bench. You can play different positions. Also, Nola can play different positions. That's like that kind of thing. I think the flexibility that they have might help them out, but I think they'll probably have to add. And they as many guys as they brought in, their farm system is still loaded, which is crazy.
Can Cronenworth play the outfield?
Yeah, left field.
So.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Second base, left field, primarily.
That helps.
Like that kind of thing.
Kingery. Yep.
Mackenzie Gore. I know you, Derek, have brought up one of that guy. He's probably one of my favorite guys to watch in the minor leagues. And who knows, they might take it slow with him. You've got to be careful with some guys who haven't thrown a lot last year, that kind of thing. But he might be ready. And it's like,
yeah,
what kind of role will they use him in? Will they try to limit his innings out of the bullpen or that? I don't know. But he's an interesting.
So, and I'll just finish up the bullpen there. Now that Kirby Yates is gone, I'm very interested how it may drive potential fantasy baseball managers crazy, but I don't see why they don't go with multiple options to close, because
True.
I count I count 6 guys who last year got saves, and that was only in 60 games. Pomerantz
Right.
had 4 saves, Pagan had 2, Melanson 11. Keone Kella got hurt, so I'm sure he would have been another one who had saves. Dan Altavilla, Taylor Williams had saves for the Mariners, but he's not really a closer.
But you're
And
right,
Matt
Derek. You're
Strahm, don't
absolutely
forget
right.
about Matt Strahm, the left-hander. I know it says he has patellar tendon surgery, but I think he's potentially available for opening day. And
That's a good point, though.
Go ahead.
That's a good point. No, just because I want to say your point is very valid there, and I know probably I hope people out there don't get sick of me talking about the Phillies, even though they're my favorite team. And I apologize if you always comment, but no, I want to say this: when you have a historical bad bullpen the next year, and we have a smart guy in place to run the team, what do? You bring in like Brandon Kinsler, who can get outs in the 9th inning. You bring in a guy like Archie Bradley, who's probably your number 1 closer. But then you have Mr. Malox himself, Hector Neris, because I have to take Malox when he comes into the game. He can also save games. He put you through the ringer. So I'm just saying, Derek, that's a perfect point by you, though.
And to finish up the Padres here, the 2 guys who stand out potentially this year, we mentioned Mackenzie Gore. Yes. Is left-handed pitcher, number 6 overall in the top 100. Wow. Ultra athletic, a high leg kick, left-handed delivery. Mid-90s fastball with life, throws strikes. They say it's very hard to see his pitches, which is very good for. You see it more with the lefties. A front-end rotation star potential. And then Luis Camposano is there, who could potentially be making the team out of spring training, because I know Austin Nola is also injured. Number 45 overall, good strength, bat speed, athletic, agile, strong arm, potential to be an everyday catcher. Phil, let's start with you. The over-under for the San Diego Padres is 94.5.
Yeah, I think they're over. I think they're a 96 win team. You know, I think they're gonna beat the other teams in their division, handle them pretty easily, except the Dodgers. I think they might split with the Dodgers. You know what I mean? Like, things can happen during the year. You kind of break even. I do expect them. You know, they added in the offseason, but they'll probably do some things at the deadline to, you know, kick it up through there. And I mean, it wouldn't completely surprise me if something happened and things clicked and they win the division over the Dodgers. I think both of those teams will probably, you know, like will be in the playoffs, but I think there is a small chance with everything going right, they could, you know, be in that mix.
Joe?
All right, I'm going to say over 2, and I'm also going to say they're going to grab that wild card spot because I don't think they'll beat the Dodgers. But I'm going to say 97. I like 97. I like 3 over. I like them. I like them all around pretty much, like we were saying. And but the lineup really does have to produce, because if they don't, I don't know if they can be streaky guys. They got to be consistent. So consistent 97, inconsistent, not sure.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's a couple games over that number. I think if they can get one more bat, I think that they could be right up there. The unfortunate thing is, yeah, that is pretty much going to be the divisional series. Is probably going to be the Dodgers and the Padres, and they may be the 2 best teams in the league. Though I'm sure Braves fans may have something to say about that, but that'll do it for the San Diego Padres. Our final team in the NL West will be the San Francisco Giants, who last year finished 3rd place in the division. I believe I think they were actually tied for the final spot, but they missed out. 29-31. Coach Gabe Kapler comes back for his second season, of course, at 29 and 31. Some additions for San Francisco are Anthony Descalfani from Cincinnati, Alex Wood, Tommy LaStella, good utility player from the Angels, Jake McGee, Aaron Sanchez trying to make a reboot of his career, Jose Alvarez, and let's not forget Buster Posey is coming back after he opted out last season. And not too many important subtractions, at least. Trevor Cahill, Drew Smiley, Tony Watson, Tyler Anderson, all pitchers. Joe, let's start with you. Tell us about what you love about the San Francisco Giants.
Well, I will be fair, though. I don't want to be biased. I was never a huge Gabe Kapler fan when he was in Philly, but I will say he didn't have a lot to work with. And it seems like this is the pattern for him, though. He comes to San Francisco and not really fair that they're not really giving him a lot to work with again. If you think about it, he's got some veterans, he's got some young guys. I don't know the direction. This is kind of like the Cubs. It's really interesting. But no. Listen, as a person, I like the guy. I just wish he will get on a team that maybe wins and we'll say, hey, you know what? It's a Philly story. You don't do good in Philly, but you'll do good somewhere else. That's kind of what our narrative is. But anyway, Mike Yastrzemski is a really fun player to watch. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's Carl Yastrzemski's grandson.
Yeah.
I think I'm right about that. I think that's a funny, an ironic story. So I want to bring that up. 297, 35 RBIs, pretty good out of the L spot. I take him over Tapia. Alex Dickerson's a pretty good two-hitter. He had 27 RBIs last year. I'll tell you what I love this team. I love the Brandons. Brandon Squared, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford. They both play pretty good defense. They both hit the ball well. It'll be interesting to see what Buster does. He opted out last year. He maybe has a young family. I know he's married, so I'm sure he's worried about his family and has to be worried about his health. He's had some surgeries over his career. Always been a Buster Posey fan. Evan Longoria, God, just retire because you're not going to get younger and move along. But no, other than that, I probably said too much. Phil, I'll kick it to you just to maybe back me up on the offense. Is there anything here that's of substance, maybe?
Yeah, I think, those names that you touch on, and even, not to relate everything to the Phillies, but they kind of they had their good run, this Giants team, a couple of years going back, that they still have some of the core pieces there with Posey, Crawford and Belt. Tried to take a chance with a Longoria contract and see if he has something else in, but they're really, trying to retool. I like Dubon out in center field. He can, and that's the other thing. Like, if you're playing outfield for the Giants, you have to know what you're doing. You've got to be able to cover ground. It's huge out there.
True.
And so, that's an important piece. But they really, I think if a lot of things were different, they probably wouldn't have the veterans. Unfortunately, the guys that they have are just on these contracts where nobody really wants them. You know what I mean, so to speak, in that sense. And guys they're not going to trade Posey, and he wouldn't want to go. He doesn't deserve to leave. So I think they're kind of in, but I think they were right in it till the last day, like we said last year. I think they're kind of they'll find some ways to maybe probably do better than what they should on paper, just with the way they mix and match guys. Yastrzemski came out of nowhere, pretty much, so to speak. Alex Dickerson was a guy, I think he was with the Pirates for a little bit, and has had a pretty solid time with playing time. So I think they're on and Zahidi, the guy who came over from the Dodgers, who's running their team now, I think he's a great guy to, make the decisions for the future. So they're on the right path moving up, but it's, the Dodgers and the Padres ahead of them. There's a significant gap between those teams, let's say.
This may be an unpopular opinion, but I think San Francisco is the team in no man's land for me. The other two are retool. The Colorado and Arizona have pieces they can sell off. They can retool and get back in a few years. The top two are the top two. San Francisco is right there in the middle, where they're a couple pieces away from making the playoffs, but not close to being on the level of the Dodgers or the Padres. A couple of these guys, 7 of the guys in the starting lineup are over 30 years old. You have Brandon Belt, Posey, Longoria, Crawford have all been there for a while. They're all upwards of like 35. But then even guys like Alex Dickerson, Yastrzemski, Donovan Solano, La Stella, they're all over 30 years old, guys who just kind of came on the scene just a little bit ago. They're all good players, but I don't see any of them being a part of the future or getting them to a significant portion in this division. So I think they're the team in a very tough spot, because even if they bring in pieces, I don't know if they're even close to the other teams in this division, or the top two in this division at least. They are very interesting. Now, they were one of the best hitting teams in the league last year. They had one of the best averages as far as any team, which I found very surprising. I remember pulling up that stat with one of Joe and I's first shows, but they also have a lot of guys who are going to platoon. I see a couple left-handers in the starting lineup, but then they have a bunch of right-handers: Wilmer Flores, Austin Slater. They have Darren Ruff's name on here as well as a potential guy.
Great name.
So I don't know. And so, Joe, when we look at the rotation here, they're led by Kevin Gossman, brought him back. Johnny Cueto is there still. They brought in Descalfani from Cincinnati. Aaron Sanchez trying to make another run at it. What do they got in the rotation?
Yeah, and the other thing I want to touch on, and Phil, you can answer this, but I'll get to the rotation, I guess, first. I think Cueto is just kind of at the end of his career, so he'll have to get innings from. Gausman's good, but Gausman's good on an Atlanta team that he was on, even a Baltimore. Like, Gausman's not going to help you, I don't think, that much here. He's going to give you innings, though. They're average. This is an average rotation, guys. This is what they are. Here's my question, though, because this piqued I just thought about this, and I love it if it happens. If the Phillies don't want Roman Quinn to be a part of their outfield, I know I'm doing it again, I'm sorry. I can't help it. If you do, though, if this to me in a way, Dubon, Phil said he liked. Phil, does Roman Quinn have the marriage back with Gabe Kapler? Do you think it makes sense? I'm just thinking big outfield, fast cut. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, am I crazy?
No, that's true.
They're at the parallel a little bit, right?
They've got to take some chances, and find guys like Yastrzemski, was a guy that kind of was written off in other places. I think they're kind of piecemeal in that through in the lineup. Rotation wise,
terrible.
Yeah, they might just hope some guys can kind of step up, show some flashes through there. I think Gosman's a guy. Did he get the tender offer, right? The 1 year deal?
I think, yeah. Because he was from Atlanta. Wasn't he in Atlanta last year or Baltimore? He was somewhere.
He was in San Francisco. He's been in San Francisco, yeah.
Because he's been on a couple different teams. Okay, yeah. Adam Duvall would have been another guy I would have went after, or a Corey Dickerson. Just one of these guys that could play the. I mean, I know they're average.
But again, are they any better than what they're throwing out there?
Probably
now?
not. Probably not. I know. I'm throwing out names. I guess that kind of makes sense in like a very small window. But no, I mean, maybe these guys step up. Maybe Dubon is, like Phil said, maybe he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think Cueto too. I'm not sure. I know he had a big contract that they gave him through there, and he hasn't been healthy the last couple of years.
He was a Red
those two guys
in high school.
Like they would love to probably get anybody to move and take him if he's got something down the road there. they're a team, you know, I think they've got smart guys in the development. They're scouting. They've got some interesting prospects. They're, you know, I don't. We'll take this year to take a chance while the Padres and the Dodgers are, you know, sort of going all in.
Yeah, true.
Well, and we'll name a couple of those guys here. You got to start with Joey Bart. He's probably going to be the new guy to take over in the heir apparent, so to speak, at catcher. Number 23 overall in the top 100, above average pop, not an amazing home run hitter, very patient, hits to all fields, a quality receiver and very good game caller, strong, accurate arm. He kind of reminds you of a Buster Posey, really. He's a very good defensive catcher and not going to hit a ton of home runs, but he'll hit a couple and hits to all fields. So and there's a lot worse to be compared to than Buster Posey. Another guy to look out for is Heliot Ramos, who is an outfielder, number 82 overall. He also hits to all fields, but he's more of a power over average guy, plus runner, corner outfielder is where he's at. The over-under for San Francisco is 75 wins. Phil, let's start with you. 75 for the Giants.
That's an interesting number right through there. What did I say that I'd have the Diamondbacks win a little more? I'm trying to do the math now back in my head. How it all ended up.
That's all right. No one will notice.
I think they 75 just seems kind of right. Like, you know, like they can get right through. That's a boring way to go. But I mean, I think it'll just be one of those years where Gabe Kapler will talk about he'll hype up some of these fringe guys, say how amazing they are in certain spots, try to build up their confidence, see if you can get things through. And as annoying as it was to hear as a Phillies fan during their press conferences, I think it's a good way to go. Like it's a long grind of the season.
He's positive.
Some people wanted him to like just, you know, shred their own guys in their bullpen after they blow leads or like throw his guys under the bus. Like that's not realistic. You can't do that stuff. You know, it's weird his approach that he goes after it, but it's cerebral. And I think that they're, you know, they're going to be in 2 or 3 years, they're going to be up and coming. And once the veterans turn over, I think it'll turn around.
And Joe, 75?
I'm going under. I just don't think they haven't. Yeah, I am. I'm gonna go 68. I'm gonna go really under. I don't know. I just see them getting destroyed by their division, and God forbid if Arizona or Colorado really put it together, they're done by the word definition. The definition of the word done. Yeah, just 68. I don't have much else to say about it, but you know, good luck, Gabe.
Yeah, call me a Giants hater. I really don't like them this year. I don't like that pitching staff. And I don't know if there are too many run producers in that lineup. I think that they might be a struggle a little bit there. That'll finish our NL West review. However, before we go, as always, we got to get our guest options as far as 5 through 1. Let us know where. And again, people, well, no, let's not make a big deal because then people might go back and double check what he said. So 5 through 1, let's go where we think they're going to finish in the division.
I have to start at the bottom.
Yeah,
that's
give it a little suspense.
Part, I guess, through there. All right. Ooh, the race to the bottom there. Yeah, I think it's going to be the Rockies at the bottom. Then I think D-backs, Giants, Padres, Dodgers.
Okay. And for those that want, who want Joe and I's opinion, that will come very soon. We're getting closer and closer. Only one division to go, and that will be the AL West. But that was our NL West preview. We hope everyone enjoyed. Phil, thank you very much for coming on. It was a
It
pleasure
was a
having you.
great time, guys. So much fun. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. And spring, the season, we're a couple weeks away. And it's beautiful out now. Hopefully that keeps that up.
Joe, final thoughts.
Well, after watching so much basketball and brackets and everything, and I enjoy doing our show even on Sunday, this has been awesome because I can't tell you both, and you both know how much I love the game, but I just can't wait for this season. I think last season we were all robbed, kind of like the big dance, right? We're all robbed of having a true baseball season, and nothing gets me more excited to just sit down and watch baseball and just enjoy the game. So the NL West was a lot of fun. I think it'll be interesting to follow it. And 9 days. That's it. It's 9 days. I'm over the moon excited. So like a kid on Christmas. So yeah. So no, great show, Phil, and thanks again for coming. And I knew it would be awesome because we talk sports all the time. So definitely
Loved
awesome,
every
awesome
second.
for
I
having
hope
you.
to, chat again.
It was a
Best
pleasure,
of luck in
Phil.
the fantasy basketball
yes.
season.
Yes.
As I lost to you. Yeah.
So that'll do it. And as always, don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube so you can get all of our videos, all podcast platforms if you just want to listen. Facebook group, not the page. Follow the group from now on, please. And any emails, timeoutderekandjoe@gmail.com. As always, everyone, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Everyone stay safe and take care.